Hey, everybody.
Seems like you have some fans here.
Oh, I am a fan of everyone here.
Create a Venn diagram on from where are we seeing the attacks? On voting rights, on people's access and right to reproductive health care, on LGBTQ rights, and then you can put this circle on and those who refuse to propose and fight for reasonable gun safety laws, and you will see an extraordinary intersection. And here's what that also tells you, and this is the beauty of organizing and all movements. Incredible opportunity for coalition building.
Hey there, guys. So let's talk a little bit about Chicago. So even though there seems like there's this unspoken rule for only that place, if you're not from there, you don't talk about it. At least that's the way they want it. They being not their citizens, but their Democratic leadership. So unless, of course, you're on the political stage like Kamala Harris. So she recently visited the Windy City to share her thoughts on gun violence. Obviously, what better place to do it? But interestingly, she sidestepped the actual crime of gun violence, which to me feels like the actual core issue here, crime. Now, remember, Kamala was California's top cop, and given her history, you'd think she'd be all about stopping crime, or at least acknowledging the crime situation. But when she's talking about Chicago's challenges, there's no mention of stopping crime, being tough on criminals, or anything even close to crime related. They just want to talk about guns that are all, of course, the Republicans' fault. That's why there's whatever you want to call it in Chicago. So instead, it feels like the narrative is more like about rallying votes for the Democrat friends of hers. And she thinks that the way to do that is to talk more about gun control for law-abiding citizens while having zero solutions for actual crime and the citizens at the mercy of this crime. How in the hell do these people even listen to themselves?
For the third time in a month, Vice President Kamala Harris visits Chicago. This time, she speaks before two gun violence prevention groups that are growing by the day. Moms Demand Action and Students Demand Action.
Moms Demand Action!
It's a group that began 10 years ago. Moms Demand Action has grown to 10 million members nationwide. Chicago's Valerie Burgess is one of its original volunteers after her son Craig was murdered in 2013.
People wouldn't even talk to us as moms volunteers. And now they not only talk to us, they seek us out. They want our support.
Moms in the red shirts have the full support of the Biden administration.
You put the pressure on the system so that the system has to hear the voices and respond in some way.
Vice President Kamala Harris credits their activism in signing historic gun reform legislation. Harris was the keynote speaker of the Everytown for Gun Safety conference at McCormick Place. It also included Students Demand Action.
How do you see my generation playing a role in this movement?
We are counting on you. We need you. You are critical to this issue. You are everything.
17-year-old Erin DeSantis was handpicked to ask Harris a question. She and other students met with the vice president for a private conversation before the event.
She's just very human like the rest of us. I think, there was really no big fanfare around it.
The Biden administration sees the gun violence issue as key to galvanize the youth vote. One, the Biden-Harris ticket knows it needs to win in 2024. And a vote, Harris says, is vital for the passage of common sense gun laws.
When your generation starts to vote in your numbers, I see this changing completely.
We're so up for it. We're so ready. We're so tired of living through all these things every single day. And so, again, once I turn 18, I know I'm already prepped and ready to register to vote.
And while Harris rallied the crowd, she made no mention of today's Illinois Supreme Court ruling upholding the state's assault weapons ban. Harris's visit to Chicago was brief. She spoke for about a half hour before heading back to Washington, D.C. Meantime, the conference continues through Sunday. Governor Pritzker is expected to be here tomorrow, signing some key gun violence prevention legislation.
Okay, guys, so let's break something down real quick. So the political climate right now is wild. There's no other way to put it. We're looking at crime rates that are literally through the roof. And whether that's their fault or not their fault, it doesn't matter. It's all under the watch of Biden and Harris. But what's crazy is that Biden is the literal brain behind the 94 crime bill, which of course was controversial. But back in the 80s and the 90s, people were actually rooting for a bill like that because crime was off the freaking charts. And a lot of folks, they slam him for it, myself included, but mainly that's just about poor policy and poor execution. And all things considered, the fact that he even cared about crime, considering what he is now and what the party is now, is impressive. Especially, like I said, looking at the way he operates today. But anyway, then you've got Kamala Harris, once the big shot top prosecutor in California. You'd think with their backgrounds, this duo in particular would have crime all figured out. They would at least be concerned and be working on it. The root causes, of course. But no, they're either completely stumped or they truly do not care. I think it's the latter. I think they truly do not care. Let me know in the comments what you think it is. But the Dem strategy, it seems to be pushing the blame away from the progressive defund the police chants and all the woke mayors. Instead, they're all about, hey, let's vote Democrat and limit more guns. If we just take away the guns, there'll be no crime. They believe that. I think they believe that. But just look at Chicago, man. They've got probably the most stringent gun laws in all the United States, just like California, just like New York, yet the criminals are still armed. They're still causing chaos. They're still preying on citizens that are not armed. And it's crazy to me that Kamala heads to Chicago to talk about this and doesn't even address the root issue of crime. It's insane. It's just about more gun control. In the same place that you've got postal workers just trying to do their jobs, man. They're living in fear of being robbed for the freaking mail. Something's got to give.
Into some of the postal workers who are filling in for their colleagues that are believed to be recovering from these robberies that have happened recently. The residents living in these areas call it all unfortunate. They grow a bond with these postal workers and are hoping the city and police can do more to protect them. The Postal Service back on the ground today in North Austin, but this man delivering the mail isn't the carrier these residents are used to seeing. That's because he's filling in for the man who was robbed Thursday afternoon while doing his job here near 1500 North Long. All of that caught on this home surveillance camera as you see two suspects get out of the white vehicle there and rob the mail carrier of his belongings before they drive off. One man who did not want to be identified says he used to be a postal worker himself, and it hurts him to see a familiar face dealing with an incident like this.
Professional. That's what I call a good mailman. They're professional. They take care of their customers and they do their job.
Incidents like that have become a trend for postal workers locally and across the nation. That's why USPS officials just announced a $100,000 reward for anyone that could help identify these people of interest believed to be responsible for the robberies of two other postal workers in Chicago. Both of those incidents happened on August 1st. One of them near North Kildare and Belmont in Irving Park, where a carrier was shot while being robbed. Police say he's okay now, but shortly after that, another carrier was robbed in Logan Square, right near North Sawyer and Cortland. A nationwide effort now underway by lawmakers to replace the master keys that are often targeted in these robberies, as people say these incidents are just out of hand.
Postal inspectors ain't messing around with this here. And you're going to jeopardize your life to get 10 to 20 years in prison for a bundle of mail, ain't nothing in it. You got his wallet, ain't got nothing but a credit card in it, ain't nothing. It's not worth it. Go to school, get your job.
Anyone with information that could help this investigation is asked to call police or the United States Postal Service.
All right, so here's something to think about. Kamala doesn't seem all that rattled about the security concerns facing postal workers. She doesn't care. And then there's Brandon Johnson, the new mayor, who's basically like, hey, let's not badmouth these kids who just committed a crime against a postal worker. They're more concerned with people talking about it than doing anything about it. So what is their solution? Instead of giving these postal workers a way to defend themselves, they're actually putting more obstacles in the way. And it's wild that in Chicago, it seems like a postal worker literally might need to think about wearing a bulletproof vest just to drop off the mail. And, it's not just about the threat of getting robbed. They're also getting shot at. And speaking of which, there's another story, similar thing, where a postal worker literally was actually shot. Same city, same problem, different day. Guys, before I show you that, please make sure to help us with the algorithm and join us, man. Join us, the journey we're on together. Like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel.
Tonight, a Chicago mail carrier is just out of surgery after he was shot during an attempted robbery this afternoon. It happened in broad daylight on a residential street in Kilbourne Park. CBS 2's Sarah Maki live for us tonight at Illinois Masonic Hospital, where she just got an update on that mail carrier's condition. Sarah?
Yeah, that's right, Joe. We were talking with the letter carrier union president as she left the hospital today. She says that doctor here tell her that their union member is now out of surgery and is expected to survive. But she says that she, like the neighbors we talked with earlier, are concerned but not surprised. A startling crime, a shooting in broad daylight, caught on camera. The corner of School Street in Kildare around 3:30 Tuesday afternoon. The suspect's white Kia caught fleeing after police say a mailman was shot in the leg during an attempted robbery.
We got shell casings on the stairs.
Police and postal trucks hastily parked in the middle of this residential block. Neighbors rushing out to help the letter carrier, standing by as police set up their perimeter.
Yeah, I mean, when the ambulance came around, you could just hear him screaming, the pain.
Ali Sanchez was home when it happened, their security camera capturing a few frames of the mailman leaving their home just moments before he was shot.
I doubt he put up any kind of resistance whatsoever. He probably said, take it all, and still they shot him.
Deborah Hamilton says her dad was a letter carrier for about 20 years, and she's concerned by the violence.
They're basically just prey. They have nothing to defend themselves.
A concern echoed by other carriers.
So Chicago's situation should be a wake-up call to all of us, guys. But the big question is anyone even listening anymore? Are they just dancing around the problem? What are the politicians going to do about it? What are the citizens going to do about who they actually vote for? Anyway, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, guys. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. And we'll see you in the next one.